Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to today's video. My name is Camila, and today I guess you can say this is an updated budgeting routine since the one that I filmed last year. I do, however, still do the same type of method, the sinking fund method. It's just I disperse my money into different accounts than I did in my last video. I actually have 4 different accounts that I work with, and I just wanted to kind of update you guys on all of that stuff. Something different from my last video. Instead of doing a voiceover over what I'm doing, I am actually talking in the video where I'm writing stuff down, so I will just cut in here and there. I do, however, want to say before I get started that I am in no way a budgeting expert, financial advisor, any of that stuff. I don't think I'm an expert with money whatsoever, but I just wanted to bring you guys this new video so you guys can potentially implement this kind of method into your life and start budgeting. So without further ado, let's get into that. I highly recommend using a spiral notebook because it'll be easier to lay flat. If you care about being tidy and everything, it'll help immensely with a flat notebook. If you saw my last budgeting video, you know that I like to start off with a calendar. The calendar was useful when I first started budgeting because it would help me keep track of when I need to pay bills and when I get paid. But now that I've been doing this for about a year, I know when I have to pay my bills and I know when I get paid. For the sake of this video, I'm still gonna be doing the calendar, but I just thought I'd let you know that. I'm gonna actually do this budget for the month of September. So I'm gonna go to my calendar, and we have 30 days in September as well as 5 rows. Then I'll go in and I'll write the days that I get paid, the days that I have to pay bills, and so on. I actually get paid way more often than my last video. My last video, I had my hostess job and I would get paid twice a month. That's still true. I still get paid twice a month for them, but I also have 2 freelance jobs. One of them is my internship that's paid. I get paid every single Friday, and then I have another freelance job as an Amazon Flex driver where I deliver groceries and actual Amazon packages to people that I get paid twice a week for. So I just write all of that down. Just wanted to preface that in case you guys get confused as to why I'm getting paid so many times. So on Thursdays, I get tips from my job, so I'll just write those down as well. And by my job, I mean my hostess job. And then I'm gonna go in and write the bills that I'm gonna pay to. Like last time, I still don't have many bills. I pay rent, I pay my car insurance, I pay my Wi-Fi, and I pay the phone. And that's because I live with my mom, thankfully still, and she allows me to save. So yeah, once you have your calendar done, you just move on to the next page where we actually get into putting down all of the things that are due and whatnot. So I'm gonna make, not calendar, but it kind of is a calendar. First, the due dates of all my bills. We also do the expense, or I do the expense. Then I write the amount, an amount being the amount that I'm gonna spend on it a month. So even though I get paid multiple times a week, I still just stick to budgeting for 2 times a month and paying towards my bills 2 times a month and to my sinking funds as well. So I just throughout the week let myself acquire the money, and then whenever it comes time to getting paid for my hostess job, that's when I do the budgeting. And since for the month of September, I'll be getting paid on the 3rd and the 17th, I write down the 3rd and the 17th on my paper. So this is where I start to make my little calendar graph type of thing. All right, so we're gonna plug in when I have things due. We're gonna go back to our calendars, or I'll go back to my calendar. And I see I have rent due on the 1st, car insurance due on the 2nd, credit card on the 11th, Wi-Fi on the 13th, and phone bill on the 24th. So I'm gonna come back here where it says due. I'm gonna put those numbers. I have my 3 savings accounts, so I put all on this line for all of the days that I get paid, where I'm actually budgeting for, and then I draw an arrow down. So I know that each paycheck, I'm gonna be giving a certain amount to all of these savings accounts, these 3 savings accounts. They're not really savings accounts. I keep calling them savings accounts. 2 of them are savings accounts, one of them is a debit account, but because I put certain savings into each of them, that's why I call them savings accounts. I have 4 different accounts that I work with. I have my Chase account that I have my money actually deposited into, and by money I just mean checks and such. I also use that to pay my bills, so my bills get taken out of there as well. I also have my Discover debit account, which if you know what sinking funds are, or if you don't know what sinking funds are, I should say, you want to prioritize your bills, and then after that you can think about what is it that I want to budget for. You can either do like date nights, fun money, stuff like that. So the sinking funds that I use most, I put into my Discover debit account, so I could just have that money right there and then and just swipe my card whenever I need to. My money that I put into my Discover savings account, those are things that I don't use as often as the things that I budget for in my debit account, but I still use them maybe like once a month or something. So if I ever need to transfer something from my savings account to my Discover debit account to pay off my credit card, that's why it's in there. So I could just do an easy transfer and it'll be there in seconds to just pay off my credit card. My fourth is my YOTTA Bank account, and I get into YOTTA further down in the video. I show you guys the app and everything, but there I put things like my annual sinking funds that I only use once a year because it takes a lot longer for that money to get transferred into your account. For the expense, I write down what my expense is: rent, car insurance, shouldn't have spelt that out because there's no space, credit card, Wi-Fi, and phone. Here I'll put my savings account. So I use YOTTA Bank for this one, then my Discover debit card, and my Discover savings. That's actually a savings account. Whiteout is usually my best friend when I'm doing these because I make a lot of mistakes sometimes and I need to white stuff out. Oh my god, there I go again. I'll be right back. I'm just color coding these so you guys can differentiate between the bills and the savings that I give towards. Since we're already in pink, let's start out with the amounts that I put towards YOTTA, and I'll get to how I got these amounts later. I know from previous experience that I usually give $320 to YOTTA Bank, $211 to my Discover debit card, and $126 a month to my savings account. For my bills, I'll put the amount that my bills are for. So rent, I give $200 for car insurance, $100. For my credit card, I give $69.59. For my Wi-Fi, I do $54, and then my phone just went down to $45. The reason why the calendar is helpful if you are just learning to budget is because you can then look at whenever you get paid. Obviously the first and the second come before the third, so usually in that case I know that my previous paycheck is going to go towards these two, so I just X those out because I know it's just common sense. You're not going to be able to give payments to these two when they've already passed. So with that being said, I know in that case that I'll have to pay my rent and my car insurance with the 17th paycheck. So if I open up my calendar, I could just go to the 3rd and see, okay, I have to pay my credit card with my paycheck on the 3rd, and I also have to pay the Wi-Fi with my paycheck on the 3rd before I get paid on the 17th, which is great. So then I'll just write in $6959 here and $54 here. The 24th comes after the 17th, so I know that I'll pay the 17th. Next, I continue with my savings. So 320 divided by 2 equals 160. So I write 160, 160. And then 211. Actually, I don't divide this one by 2. Okay, so I messed up with the math on this one. I actually, for my Discover debit card, because I recently changed the amounts that I'm going to be giving to fun, food, and shopping, I'm only going to be giving $10 to those, not 20 like before. I messed up on the math when it comes to the totals. Even though I messed up on that section, because we all make mistakes, just saying, you're still going to be doing the same thing with the math, the same thing with the total amounts that you're getting for the amount section for the month when it comes to figuring out how much you need to save towards your sinking funds or whatever. I do 150 on this paycheck and I do 40 on this paycheck. And then my savings, 126 divided by 2, 63 per each paycheck. I just write total and I tally up everything. Not tally, but you know, I do the totals for everything. For For the sinking fund method, what you do is you account for your bills first. You figure out what you need to prioritize and what you need to spend your money on first. Then you can move on to things that you need to save for. And that could be anything like travel, Christmas. And just so you know, these are my actual sinking funds. Like, I'm not just spitting random things out. I'm saving for a car in case my car breaks down. So I highly recommend you guys think ahead. Think of things that you're going to need to save for the future. I don't need a car right now. My car's working just fine. Knock on wood, that continues. But I still want to save for a car because I want to have some money if something just magically happens and my car stops working, can't get fixed, and I need to buy a new car. I also am saving for a home. I'm not looking to buy a home, just for whenever I grow up, and I grow up. Because whenever I feel like I want to buy a home, I can have a down payment. That's what that would be for. I also have things like savings for emergencies, an emergency fund, which you guys should have as well. I also have things like date night, in case I'm feeling generous and want to pay for my dates with my boyfriend. Food, and by that I just mean fast food. Fun, for if I want to go have fun with my friends, I want to get a pedicure with them or something, I will use from that. I also have a shopping sinking fund, pretty explanatory. Gas, and then I have one for groceries and toiletries. I have my car registration, car maintenance, medical expenses that I don't currently have, but whatever that may be. If I have to go to the store to buy Band-Aids, Mucinex, Tylenol, anything, I'll take from here. Gifts, and Ollie, who is my pet, and I put a budget towards him because, let's say I have to buy food, I have to buy kitty litter, I have to buy anything related to a pet, I would pull from this sinking fund. So it's always just about thinking ahead when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to having a sinking fund. Now that we're here, we have our sinking funds, how do we get the amounts? I first want to say that things like Christmas and my car registration, those are called annual sinking funds, and those you have to do a little bit of math for to figure out. Let's move on to the next page to see how we do that. What I do is I start in the beginning of January. Obviously, you can budget at whatever time, but when I started in January, I said, okay, for Christmas, I want to budget $1,000 by whenever I need to buy Christmas presents. I looked at the calendar on my phone and I went to December, and I decided that I want to have my $1,000 saved by the 10th. So what did I do starting at January? I went all the way back and I counted how many times I would be getting paid from January to December. So I will have received 24 paychecks by the 10th. So this is where the math comes in. So money per check, I have to divide the $1,000 by 24 checks. So $1,000 by 24 checks is equal to $41. I'm pretty sure I had a little bit of money left over from last Christmas, which is why I only budgeted $40 for my Christmas funds. But let's just say money per check, I'm gonna be giving $40. So for my car registration, I'm just gonna budget $140 for it. With that being said, I also again went back into my calendar and saw how many paychecks I will be getting before my registration is due, which is July 22nd, I believe. So I only have to budget $3 per paycheck in order to reach that amount of $140. For you guys, you would just do the same up here. You would calculate how much you want, then you'd go back and see how many checks you're going to receive until the date that you need it by, and you just do the math. But for me, I know that the money that I'm gonna do per check is equal to $3. I go back into my sinking funds and I write those things. Now, how I get these that aren't annual funds, hopefully this doesn't distract you guys, just don't pay attention to anything that's up here. How to budget SF, meaning how to budget your sinking funds. Let's say you get paid $1,000 a month. So you get paid $1,000. You'd go to your boom right here. Again, don't look at the pink, and you'd calculate how much you're spending on bills for the month. So 200 plus 100, that's 300 plus 6959. that's that, obviously. 54 plus 45 is $468.59 that you're spending on bills per month. So you'd go back here and you'd subtract the $1,000 by the amount of total bills that you're paying for every month, $468.59. And I know $1,000 isn't really doable for some people, especially working part-time jobs, because you don't know how long you're actually going to be there if you work hourly, and it could just differ. But let's just say for this case, you make that much. So you would have $531.41 to use towards your sinking funds every month. You would then divide this number by 2, so you would know how much you can use per paycheck. If you get paid 2 times a month, $265.70 to budget towards your sinking funds per check. So if you wanted to, you can go over here. You can count your sinking funds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and you can divide the number right here by 15. But this were me, I'd be doing $17 for each sinking fund every paycheck that I get. You can also do it a different way. If some things are more important to you than others, then you put more money into that, but you have to make sure that you're not going over your budget. So like for me, I'll give you what I actually spend or send my money to. So travel, I put $20 towards travel. For my home, I budget $100 every single paycheck. I leave my car and emergencies blank, and I'll tell you why in a second. For date night, I budget $20, food $20, fun $20, shopping I do $20 as well. For gas, I do $60, but only once. So one paycheck, I'll send $60 to gas. Another paycheck, I'll send 0 to gas, and I'll only account for these things. Groceries, same thing. I only send $30 once a paycheck, and then toiletries, I send $20 only once a month. So for my car maintenance, I only send $10. For my medical stuff, I send $20. For gifts, I send $10 every paycheck, and for Ollie, I send $20 every paycheck. Now that we got all that figured out, I'm gonna show you how I do my dispersing of money when I get paid. So let's say for check number 1, I get paid $1,500, which that would be amazing. But just for the sake of this, $1,500. I would take, since it's gonna be the first paycheck of the 3rd, I would take this number right here. So I would subtract, that's why I say these two are helpful. I would subtract this number by that number. So I know with my sinking funds in account and my bills in account for that paycheck and all, $496.59 is what I'll have to budget for. $1,341. I have a Chase account that all of my bills get sent to. So before I disperse anything into these other accounts, I have to, or pay towards bills, I have to make sure that I have $100 saved in my Chase account so my account doesn't get overdrawn for whatever reason. So I subtract $100 just to be safe. And my mom also has access to my Chase account. Let's say she needs to borrow money, there's an extra $100 that you can take from. Not the whole thing, but if you need money, there's that. So as you can see, after taking into account my Chase account, you can see that I'll have $903.41 left over. Boom. So the remainder that I get after I subtract my total for the bills and the sinking funds for that paycheck, that remainder I divide by 4. I send 1/4 to my emergency fund, 1/4 to car, 1/4 to my Roth IRA, my retirement account, and then 1/4 I send to my savings account. You might be asking, hey, why do you have an emergency account when you also have a savings account? I use my savings account for like plan A. I don't want to touch my emergency money until further down the line. I want that to be like plan Z pretty much. And plan A would be my savings account. So if I still have money in that savings account towards savings, let's say my car breaks down and I don't have enough money in my car maintenance sinking fund, I can take money out of my savings and not have to go into my emergency emergency money. So that's why I have a savings account also. So yeah, that's how I get that number. So sometimes if I get paid less and I don't have a lot of money to put towards these things, I'll just choose one of them, or I won't be able to put money towards them at all because I'm over budget. I'm gonna say this right now, it's pretty bad that I'm not already prioritizing my emergency fund. I highly suggest you do. You should always be sending money to your emergency fund. So that's my decision. If you don't have an emergency account or even a savings account in general, I do recommend prioritizing and saving for that. But just to give you a little background, I don't do that. I send these things to YOTTA Bank because they're things I don't use very often. I don't know if it's YOTTA, I don't know if it's YOTTA, but I say both. So YOTTA Bank is a savings account where your money is played basically kind of like the lottery, like lottery tickets. Your money is insured, this bank is insured. If something happens to the bank, nothing happens to your money and you get it all back. So you'll see here that all of the 60s and all of the tickets are accounted for. If you look over here, that is a group. So you can put your money in a group, and by that I mean it's called pool play. And with pool play, you put manage. See all of these places I have my money in. You can join a pool. Here are pools that you can join. You can create a pool that anyone can find, or you can make it only for your friends. And with these pools, the more people who join, the more tickets are combined into the game or the lottery, quote unquote. The more money you could potentially win because it would be divided amongst all of the people. But if you didn't have your money in pool play, you would still win something. These are all of the tickets that I don't have in pool play right now. That's cool. So by the end of the week, you'll pretty much know how much you've won, and this is how you get your savings money. I used to have this app called Digit that could allow you to set savings goals for yourself, break them up, and put them towards their own little savings goals account. YOTTA lets you do the exact same thing, and they don't charge you a monthly price. Digit is $2.99. I don't know how much it is right now, but it used to be $2.99 every single month, and this is free. Your core account is where your money goes to after you've deposited it. This number right here is from the prizes that I've achieved, or the prizes that I've won from my lottery tickets, and also my savings bonuses that I've been given from YOTTA. As you can see here, these are all of my accounts, all of my savings goals. I have my emergencies, my vacation, Christmas, education. I don't put any money towards that like per month, so that's why I didn't put it on the sheet right here. Nor do I do that for computer. Computer has been saved for a while, so it doesn't really matter in this instance. Car and home. Here you can see the account summary. That's YOTTA Bank, and that's why I like it. Again, not sponsored, but if you want to, you can. I should move this one to YOTTA Bank since it is an annual fund, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I'll probably do it at a later date. These I use consistently, so that's why they're in a debit card, so I can just have the money there in an instant. These I have in my savings account, because these I don't use as often, but I still use these way more often than YOTTA Bank. You might be wondering, how do you know how much you can use for the month? I'll go to last month, and this is pretty much what goes on. But these are my balances, and I keep track of all of my balances for every single paycheck once it comes to giving out my sinking fund money. I'll turn to a brand new page and I'll get to work. Taking check I would have gotten on the 3rd into account for this month of September. I will go back to August. You know what, actually, I would write all of these down. I will go back to August. I'll look at the balance for August, and then I will just add whatever it is that I gave to this paycheck into that balance. I'm not meaning to talk to you guys like you're 5 years old, but that's just how my voice is working right now, so we're gonna go with it. For emergencies, I have 553381. Oh no, imagine, in my account. Since I had money left over after doing my sinking fund and my bill budget, I will then add the amount that I'm able to add to this fund, which is the $225.85. this paycheck, I have a balance of 5,759,66. And I would literally just do that with the entire thing. So I will be right back. Okay, so that's how much I would have as a balance for each thing. That's how I know that I cannot exceed this amount for date nights, this amount for food, this amount for fun, this amount for shopping, which I never would. And then in order to make it even more, so I would know this is YOTTA, this is Discover Debit, and this is savings. So like I mentioned before, I have a separate thing of savings so I can use as plan A before I use plan B, emergencies in case of anything. So how do I figure out that number? I go to my savings account, I take that number that's there as my entire savings, and I subtract that by this number right here. All of these numbers put together, I subtract it by that number. The remainder is how much I know is in my savings account in case of emergencies. So that number as of right now is $1,110. Since I know that, I can then add that $225.85 to my savings account. That would give me $1,335.85. And I know you can use computers to do this. I could use Google Sheets if I wanted to, but I don't want to because I think doing it yourself is incredibly valuable for learning how to budget. If you make mistakes, you can see them on paper. So that's why I just like to do them by hand. Another piece of advice that I want to give you guys when it comes to your credit card, building your credit as a young person or as whatever person really. If you do this method of like the sinking fund method and you budget and you keep track of the amount of money that you have in each account, you can use a credit card to pay for things like date night, to pay for things like going to get fast food, to going to get groceries. As long as you don't exceed the amount that's in your sinking fund and you can pay your credit card on time, it'll help you with your credit score. Let's say this is how much I have spent on my credit card. This is how much I have to give back to my credit card. I have this number, which is how much I've spent. I have the reason behind it, and I have what account it's coming from. So this is how I know how much I need to subtract from my balance, because this is going to be going to my credit card. So then I would just wipe these out, and in order to know that I have already started deducting from certain things, so I don't deduct them twice, I white it out and I write it in red, the number that's remaining after subtracting. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too scary looking and that you guys got a little insight into how I budget and how you could potentially budget as well. I think this budgeting method is amazing for people who are just starting out with budgeting. Sinking fund method, it has changed my life. I'm not even joking. So yeah, I'm so excited for making this video. I swear I've been trying to make it for a couple of months now, but something just didn't feel right. And I felt like I just needed to wait for the right moment. And I finally got the energy to sit in front of my table and sit in front of this camera and explain the same thing for you. I do feel uncomfortable because I'm like, I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial advisor. I am a TV production major. Like, no one wants to hear me talk about that. But I realized my last video is doing so well, and I don't know, I just felt like it was time for an update. I also wanted to mention that some new stuff coming to this channel is a plan with me monthly video. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those YouTubers that have their little sketchbook, scrapbook, whatever you want to call it, but they make planners and they draw them out for you guys, and it's really aesthetically pleasing. I can't draw. I just bought a bunch of washi tape that's coming in the mail and a bunch of like collage stuff, so hopefully I can make the agenda look actually pretty. But that's what's going to be happening every month, so if you want to see some of those, go ahead and subscribe so you know when those come out. Also, I'm going to be starting school soon, so you know what that means. Usually when I start school, I don't make many videos. Hopefully, I'm hoping that I have the energy to make a video because I really enjoy this and it would be a break from school, let me tell you that. Now that that's been said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. A lot of information went into this video, and I hope I can see you guys in the next video. Bye!